Salut d'or, Gavotten, tamm-kreiz, heuliad, Sonerien. If you enjoy Breton music and you have dived into it for a while, there are great chances that in song titles or on album booklets you've come across some of these words. And if you've been wanting to learn more about what they mean, we've got you covered. I've got a list of words I want to share with you today. Feel free to navigate along the chapters and eventually repeat some of the words so that you memorize them. And also, yes, I'm filming from the same location I was in last week's video. I got quite a few comments about the place, its history, what kind of place that was. I'm gonna touch on this topic at the end of this video. So we will be talking here about songs sung in the Breton language, or about music and dances that are originally from the area where Breton was spoken by the majority of the people until the 60s. So roughly that means the western part of Brittany. So the name of the language is Brezhoneg. The name of the land in Breton is Breizh. You may also come across the term of Izel, which is Lower Brittany, which is like this part where Breton was indeed spoken, and the other part being Upper Brittany, Haute-Bretagne. You might also come across the term expression of Kreizh Breizh, which literally means Central Brittany. It's more of a newish term. I think it's less than 1 century old, and probably it was a way to separate like the inland part of Brittany, where tradition was carried on, from the coast that was becoming slowly like more touristic. So that area of Kreizh Breizh actually is quite convenient because it's also the area where you will find diskan. So diskan, and as a side note, this is the con from Astrakan, and diskan could literally be translated as singing and unsinging. So diskan is mostly sung for dances. It used to be sung by 2 people only, unless there was an exception to the rule, unless they were brothers or sisters, and they are very famous examples. So this type of singing is really like the one from this central part of Brittany, because Brezhoneg, and we'll get back to that, has more of a more standard European type of lead singer with the audience repeating. But in diskan we sort of have 2 solists answering to each other. And we can add that as a standard rule, they will start sort of like tuning and finding the right tune they want to sing in with some la-la-las. There will be also la-la-las at the end of the song or dance rather. There are also in some of the parts of the song, we'll get back to that, there are also la-la-las in the middle of the lyrics, and this is probably an addition from the 19th century. And the singers started to feel that they were entering competition with instruments. Some instruments started to get really popular, including like clarinet, and like not only like the traditional biniou bombard. So they needed to add some flourish to their interpretation, and they started to split the lyrics at some point and add la 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 in the middle, so that they could also have more freedom of interpretation and create more intricate tunes. And as a final note, one of the rules of diskan, and you'll hear it in this sample of me and Yann doing some diskan some years back in Paris, is that each of the vocals will interlope with each other. We not only repeat what the other singer is singing, we also sing together the ending of each part of the song.
papà d'un colore,
Quando io non mi muove,
papà d'un colore, che ne avevo detto, papà d'un colore.
mi guarda in mami se, ma
Le
scalera
bene, me geri ma te c'è, lo scogliere bene.
il mondo stare di,
La che bere mawa, il mondo sali di, la che bere mawa.
il mondo stare di, che
Bere mawa, il mondo sali di, la che bere.
Which brings us to Fest-noz. A lot of you might have heard of, been to a Fest-noz if you've been around in Brittany. It's sometimes referred to as the equivalent of a ceilidh. The main difference being probably that our dances tending to be easier. We don't have a greeter or someone explaining like the moves, and it's the easiest way to meet Breton culture. When you are around, they are quite easy to find. You just need to head for posters, or there are websites where you can find a list of them. I'll link it in the comment section. So Fest-noz, because noz is the night, you can also attend a fest-deiz, which is the equivalent but at daytime. Like the place I'm sitting on would be perfect for that actually, because there's a flat area down there where we could add some wood floor or something like that to dance on it. So who performs at those Fest-noz? You may hear Kanerien, which are singers. So they sing diskan. So you will either find like diskan and the name of the singers, or sometimes Kanerien, which means singers, and they will obviously sing diskan. Then you may hear Sonerien. Depending on the context, Sonerien could be whatever musician, but on a Fest-noz poster it would rather refer to a duet of biniou bombard, which is the traditional sort of like Breton bagpipe with hautbois, like with a very high pitch. And then Strollad is a music band, so you may come across with the name of like Strollad and then the name of the band. As a side note, my favorite Fest-noz tend to be the very traditional ones, where you would mostly have singers and those Sonerien, as opposed to Fest-noz where there are a lot of bands performing with all types of instruments. So once you attend a Fest-noz, what can you get to hear and dance there? The most common dances are, in our area, there would be Gavotten. To the east, you would find also a lot of plinn. To the south, from where we are, it would be called fisel. Gavotten is also sometimes referred to as an-dro, which basically means round dance or circle dance. And all of them have this in common of being circle dances. And all of them in the area where there used to be dance, that would be the only dance to be danced. And nowadays we will find them like spread all over Brittany, and then there will, in a Fest-noz typically, there will be a lot of songs performed from any part of Brittany. And those dances, plinn, gavotte, fisel, that at least, I'll get back to that, have 3 parts. And this is why sometimes you may come across the term of heuliad, heuliad Gavotten, heuliad plinn, heuliad fisel. It's like the sequence of those dances. In the south of Brittany, we have beautiful dances that we love to sing and perform. In the area called Brezhoneg, from those areas we got An-dro and hanter-dro, which are they also mean like circle and half circle. They are also circle dances. And we also have a-barh, which rhythm is quite similar to An-dro, but it's a couple dance. It's very pretty to be watched. And the tunes are generally amazing. So there are plenty of other dances. These are only a couple of ones that I think are more common. And they are also my favorite ones. So I said that for Gavotten, plinn, fisel, there are several parts in the dance. So the first part would be called simple, simple. The central part can be called tamm-kreiz for Gavotte, or it can also be referred to for all of them as bal. The last part is generally called double, but I say that there were at least 3 parts because they can also be followed by some sort of like polka, polka plinn, polka fisel. They could be followed by what we call the danse à repos d'ouffer after Gavotte. which is a very fast gavotte if people are in the mood and you don't want to end the dance. And the last thing for today, at least on my list, is ton. On ton is the tune or the melody, if you like. As a general rule, in Brittany, tunes, unlike in Irish music or other European folk musics, don't have any name. The lyrics and the song generally don't either. The general rule is that we would refer to a song by the first sentence, with a few exceptions, but that's most of like the general rule. And then for the tune, I explained quite a few things on the ebook we released with Zonarchist. I linked that under the video, but as a general rule, when we try to refer to a tune, we will say, oh, do you like the second tune from the gavotte that was played by this band during the 90s. That's just an example. It doesn't make it easy sometimes. And then when we record music, when musicians release albums, there will come up of a general name for the tunes they will choose. And since we are talking about tunes, generally singers would never sing more than one tune at once. It means we wouldn't have one tune and then add a second one and then a third one like you would in Irish music, for example. Even if the lyrics were really long, sometimes we have some plinn lyrics that spread over 4 pages. Like the rule isn't true anymore when singers started to sing along with bands. But in Astrakan project, we still have quite a few songs where we like to have only one tune throughout the whole song, because then we can express all of the variations, which was the point of only having one tune on each sequence. One good example of that is Pembolot, that was in our first album that we recorded in Istanbul. I linked that below as well. So this was just a short list of words you might come across. I haven't mentioned, of course, like songs and guersu, because we covered that extensively quite last week. We haven't talked much about the instrument names because I plan on doing something with Yann during our upcoming weeks while we will be traveling. So here I am in this beautiful, awesome, unusual place. The chapel itself is dedicated to Sant Tremeur, which brings us back to the 6th century. Sant Tremeur was the son of King Conomor and Sant Estrifin. As far as I know, he is not an official Catholic saint. Although there are chapels dedicated to him all around Brittany, his father was told in a prophecy that he would get murdered by his own son. And to prevent that, he had already murdered 5 of his pregnant wives when he got to Estrifin. When she got herself pregnant, he tried to murder her as well. He cut her head off, but she miraculously took back her own head, she put it back, she escaped, and she hid to give birth to Sant Tremeur. That story did not happen here at all. It happened near Laniscat, which is 1 hour or 1 hour and a half drive from here. Ultimately, Tremeur himself got his head cut off by his father, and that's why he's often depicted carrying his own head, and is also called upon for headaches. Like many other places around Brittany where you find chapels sort of in the middle of nowhere, here we have a small spring and a small stream that were already there, and there are also stones that you can't really tell if they were natural stones or if they were part of some mechanic construction, but all of these might have been part of an older type of cult.
The small megalith itself is a reconstruction at the same time as the chapel was renovated at the end of last century. In any case, a lot of places around Brittany have these layers of several religions and beliefs layered on top of each other.
I'm heading back home. It's a short drive. I have a painting to finish for a project I want to edit while we travel, for a music video project. And then we also need to start seriously packing since we're hitting the road at the beginning of next week. Kenavo, hanter-dro.